I used to be ashamed of my past and unsure if I'd make it to where I was going, but I knew one thing was for certain. We don't end up where we're going on accident. I've also learned that we can't erase the past or hide from it, but we can learn from it and pass it on to others. So who am I? I'm the definition of a bootstrap girl, someone who's made the hard choices to pick themselves back up and make something of themselves. And I'm not the only one. My name is Denisha. I'm a mom, a wife, a professor, advocate, queen of my own path, who's overcome abuse, foster care, homelessness, and raising 5 siblings on my own at the age of 24. And eventually I got a PhD. But something that I learned is that I don't know everything. So here on my show, we're going to be bringing in people who know the things that we don't know. Let's get in and learn on the Dr. Denisha Keating Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Dr. Denisha Keating Show. I'm super excited to have my new friend, Puja, here. We're going to be talking about healing trauma through more of energy medicine. So this podcast is designed to be a kitchen table conversation between two friends who are coming to understand each other. One of the rules is that we can't argue, we can't fight, we can't talk over each other. We're actually here to listen, to ask questions, to understand where the other person is coming from. And we're inviting you to be the fly on the wall to see how we have these conversations. So I'm going to have you take it away, Puja. Tell me about what you mean when you say energy medicine for self-healing.
Thank you, Danisha. I really liked your introduction, listen to it from the fly on the wall. I really like it. I practice energy medicine with best healing solutions. And when I say that, energy medicine, there are lots of people who thinks there are lots of different meanings to it. The one I do is medically based. It's based on nutrition, and we talk literally in terms of organs, glands, tissues. So when I am in a session with somebody, you might hear me say words like spinal segments or sutures, which is like the parts of the skulls.
I was like,
cranial
sutures.
nerves. Yeah, the cranial nerve. So cranial sutures are parts of the skull. So those are all related to different organs in the body. So you might hear me saying those kinds of words. So because the body is literal, and the body literally remembers everything that we go through. I know you talk a lot about trauma, so this is where it's all coming in.
We know so excited to have you. I was like,
oh, so am I. Yeah. I listened to a few bits and I was like, yeah, this girl talks exactly what we do. So yeah, there is some synergy there. So I think that's the reason why we first got to kind of hear.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that when you go through something traumatic, it could be childhood abuse, it could be a car accident, it could be really bad conflict at a job, it could be literal physical assault.
Yeah.
All of it is traumatic to the body. And I think a lot of us go, no, it was just that situation. Why is it impacting me 20 years? And you said it, the body remembers.
Correct.
So what are some of the things that the body might react years later with when it comes to trauma?
That's an excellent question. This is something that I do on every single symptoms of my clients, right? Not just client, but like every different symptoms that go through. So when there are symptoms, that is the first way that we know that the trauma is reacting. And I'm not talking something like flu or something, right? So that comes and goes. We are talking about 20 years of migraines, 20 years of Lyme disease, 20 years of chronic pain, chronic symptoms, right? So this is what we are talking about.
Yeah.
These are some of the ways trauma can communicate with us. Like, the body is trying to tell you what it needs. It needs help. That is cry for help. I'm not saying that all the symptoms are because of trauma only, but it is a component. Now, there could be something else like the body needs on a nutritional level. Body might need something more on a structural level. The body might need something on a more of a like the pathogen level, like somebody is fighting an infection or something. So this is like there are different components to healing, but trauma is also a part of it. So that is exactly what we do. So the trauma, this sort of frequencies, the pathogens we are talking about, different viruses or bacteria, or even heavy metals or chemicals, all of these frequencies. When we talk in that realm, so this is exactly what I mean when I say the energy of the medicine like that we do. So what is the energy behind the symptoms? What is the energy behind the healing of it? So what
Yeah.
do we need to know, right?
Yeah. So I've gone through like therapy, and I've gone through like, everyone's like, change your diet, change
Yeah,
this, tap your
yeah,
face. And
yeah.
I'm like, which can work for some people, but it's disheartening when you've gone through all of these things and you don't get better. And what you're saying is, well, you might be treating the symptom, not the underlining issue. So for one person, they might need more of like to just calm the nervous system down, but someone else needs to dig deeper into the nutrition, run some blood
True.
work, do some things like that. But like, if I were to come to you and say that I had panic attacks, like I've struggled with panic attacks after a root canal, not because of the root canal, but because they
Yeah,
held me down. And I was like, huh. And
yeah.
that is actually like, I've had to work through why that was. I've never had dental anxiety before, and it was just
Mhm.
the act of them holding me down. And being in therapy, I was able to like, oh, that's actually happened because of past trauma, when I feel like that conflicted. How would you walk me through kind of just calming my body down first before trying to say, now go do all these things?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. That's a very good example because the first thing that comes to my mind when you say that you have had that panic attack, not because of the root canal, but because of how you were kind of,
Right.
yeah. So, when was the first time that you felt what you felt when you were sitting on that chair?
Probably around like 8 or 9 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We might not want to go into the details, we might, but
Mm-hmm.
what did it remind you of? Was there any other
Mm.
trauma attached to that? So now the body is
Mm.
going into panic, saying that
Mhm.
I am not safe. I am
Yeah.
not safe. I must get out of here. It's not safe. Why?
Mhm.
What's going
Mm.
on? So, this is what it would look like.
Yeah.
We don't have to relive the trauma if it was a trauma.
Mhm.
Sometimes we just need to find out what are the emotions that came out for me.
Right.
Frustration,
Right.
anger, fear. Am I scared? Am I
Mm.
insecure?
Mm.
Do I feel unsafe? Do I feel
Yeah.
unsupported? What is it? What are the emotions that I felt in that moment? It doesn't matter. I
Mm.
don't need to know. Well,
Yeah.
I do need to know in order to clear it, but I don't need to go into the drama of the
Y-
trauma. But
yeah.
what I am finding is these are the emotions. Now the body is literally telling me, okay, these are the emotions. Here, clear this. Now this, now this, now this.
Mm.
So you find the emotions. What are the other beliefs that are attached with it? The other
Yeah.
belief is I am not safe. I am
Mm.
not safe when I'm sitting in this position. I am not safe if I continue doing this. And it
Mm.
all depends on the trauma that we went through. Was it some sort
Yeah.
of energetic trauma? Was it a spiritual trauma? Was it physical trauma? Was it an accidental trauma? So it all depends on
Right.
this type of, was it emotional trauma, a mental trauma, right? Was
Mhm.
there something going on for you when something like this has happened before? So what
Yeah.
was going on? And then what are the beliefs that came out of it? I must protect
Mhm.
myself under all
Mhm.
circumstances. I must keep myself safe. There's
Mm.
no one coming to save me. I must save myself. I don't know. I don't say this when I'm with my clients. I don't say like this. I just test. So I
Mhm.
am testing. I'm testing their body. I'm testing
Yeah.
their field. I'm asking the body, okay, show me. These are the emotions.
Mm.
I got it. Who else was involved? What were the other beliefs that came out? Now,
Yeah.
what is the intention, right?
So I love that, because my brain wanted to automatically go to the details of like, well, this is what happened when I was 8. And you're like, hold on, not the details. I don't want you to relive that. I want you to tell me how you felt, which is
Yeah.
not what we do well, of what did you feel. But then I think about, you said sometimes it's like decades long of other health issues. If I didn't know I could deal with that at 8, 10, 20 years old, now I'm 35, and it's all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, actually.
No. No.
It's, this is the body saying, hey, I need you to hear me. So the other
True.
issues, that migraines, I've always had the migraines until I started working through the trauma, but not, it wasn't just mental where I had to work. It was like the physical trauma that I'd gone through from some injuries, and getting that aligned through a chiropractor. And
Mhm.
that's when I started to not have the migraines. So it's,
Yeah.
you're saying, you're like, hey, there's actually two things here. There is the mind. And well, actually more than that. There's the mind, the spirit, and the body. And
True.
one of those might be off. And that's where you're saying, let's look at all three real quick. Holistically, let's look at you.
Sure.
So that's very interesting because I don't think a lot of people say it that way. You're right. When someone says energy medicine, I'm like, are you throwing something at me? Like, are we doing a dance? Like, because that's what we've seen on TV. And you're just like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. There's an energy though that could come out, like a tension in our body that we're holding that might be causing the migraine to actually physically happen.
True.
But there's the underlining fear and things we've told ourselves.
Absolutely.
So what does that look like when maybe it was a one-off car accident or something like that, like in a relationship issue where it kind of just didn't end well for them? What would you talk through when they say like, hey, this is the first time I felt it and I was in a conflict with someone or a car accident? What would be your next step to help them get that physical healing for their body?
Do you mean a physical issue from an accident or both the trauma and the physical?
We could do both, whichever one. Yeah, both.
I think that's a good question because I would just test. So if somebody I have actually worked with someone who have met an accident and then the person went into the coma straight after that. So now there are two components here.
Yeah.
First is the injury from the accident. And the second is the actual accident and the trauma of the accident.
Okay.
Yeah, because the person got hit by 180 miles an hour per hour speed. Yeah. And they were just walking across the road.
Yeah.
And they just got hit. Like 2 rows of the car stopped and the third one didn't. And then he couldn't see. So yeah, it was like traumatic.
Right.
So I would always ask, what's the priority of the body? Now, if person has met with an accident and went into the coma, imagine the consciousness won't feel safe to come back into the body. Why? Because of the incident that has happened.
Yeah.
When I treated this person, even before I went into the sutures and stuff that I was saying, like which are the brain parts that are involved, because the main thing that was damaged for this person was the brain. So we had to work on the brain. We knew that, but I have to get out of what I think, and I have to come into the field of the person and find out what is the priority of this person. The first thing that I found was, it is too painful for me to come back into this body. Like we are talking about the energetic. Yeah. And the second priority was to kind of reconnect all the organs that were affected.
Yeah.
Like the brain parts, certain parts of his bodies, he had some fractures, so the bones, etc. that we mentioned, like the organs, lens, tissues. I would literally go through all of his body parts and find out which is the most stressed organ for this person. And then we just reconnect. We all have healing intelligence. And if the body is so intelligent, if the body knows what needs to be fixed, it will fix it. Sometimes why the body can't fix it, it's because there are certain frequencies that hides the healing information from the body. So this is exactly where we would clear we call it like contactants, everything we come into contact with, all the injectants, something that has pierced the skin, like bites. Ingestants is something we eat, and then inhalants is the things we inhale. These are the things which are not supposed to be, they are not designed for the human body. So like say chemicals, they are not designed for the human body. It has a different purpose. But then if we meeting with those type of environmental toxins in some shape or form, then that is affecting your body at a cellular level.
Okay. So I have migraine. I have migraine. I have a migraine. And I decide to take some medication to try to just get rid of it. I think I'm dealing with the issue, but there might be something else, and it might be that there is a strain on a muscle in the back of my neck or something else, but I'm not actually dealing with the issue. I'm just dealing with the symptom, but then I'm putting extra stuff in my body that's actually not helping it be able to say, hey, this is what's wrong. So I'm kind of just masking the pain.
What do you mean when you say masking the pain?
Not masking it, maybe that's not the right word, but like
is it
I'm just
medications and stuff?
I'm just medicating the pain away, not dealing with the issue.
Okay, so just as I mentioned, if we were to take the example of migraines,
Mm-hmm.
I would look into what are the toxins that the person is exposed to. I would
Mm-hmm.
test. I would
Okay.
test.
How
I
would you
wouldn't.
test it?
I just do muscle testing, like with my hands.
Oh.
So all of the work that I do is remote. So
Mm-hmm.
if I want to test you right now, let's just do a little demo. Let me have you say, Danisha, my name is Danisha.
My name is Denisha.
Now that holds strong for me, if you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I ask you to say, my name is Puja,
Mm-hmm. My name
can
is.
you?
Do you want me to say it? Oh, my name is Puja.
No, that's weak.
Mm.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
is how my strong and my weak looks like. So this is a system that we have developed at Best Hitting Solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and we use self muscle testing to
Mm-hmm.
find out what's going on, like what's the truth for somebody. So
Yeah, that
in the
makes sense.
same way, we could find out what is causing somebody's migraines, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would just test all your toxins, like everything that you're using in terms of cleaning products, makeup, personal care products, eating. Is there something in your environment that you're breathing that's
Mm.
giving you trouble? So this is what we call the physical scan. We just
Yeah.
find out everything that is in their current life physically,
Okay.
and we kind of stay away from it if it's testing bad.
So it's not always. So I think sometimes we think trauma is always just internal, but you're also saying like, hey, there might be something maybe you're allergic to that's in your house or that your body is responding poorly to in
Correct.
your house.
Correct.
Maybe it's the air pollution of where you live or the a plant
Yeah.
that you have at your desk that you don't know
True.
is
True.
irritating your body. So
True.
you're doing more
Yeah.
investigation again holistically
True.
versus just this one thing, which
Yeah.
is not how I'm going to say it and get attacked for it, but it's not how modern medicine works. Modern medicine is you go to the doctor and they say, here's
Yeah.
this medication, which could be good for some, but it's
Oh yeah.
not always the root cause for everything.
Let me tell
So,
you.
yeah.
So this person that we worked with, right? The example that we are giving, the car accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if there was no modern medicine.
Right.
This one alone could not solve. It could solve to an extent, and even modern medicine alone could not solve.
Right.
So we believe in like this.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
If
You
it's the
need
right
you
thing, it's
need
the
that.
right
Yeah.
thing. But if it's
True.
not, that's not helping you. So
True.
I love that because I think that there are times that people take either or stance and they say
No.
you don't need any of it. You're either this or you're that, and you're
Yeah.
like, well, there are going to be times that your body needs that,
Yeah.
like the person in the car accident. I'm
Yeah.
sure he needed pain
Definitely.
medication to help his body
Definitely.
calm down.
Definitely.
But that's not the same as somebody who, like, I slammed my finger in a door and it's better 6 weeks later and I'm going to still take that medication just
Yeah.
because. Like, it's like, no. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
more. You might need therapy. You might have broken a
Yeah.
bone. You might need an
Yeah.
x-ray. So
Yeah.
that I like that makes sense. But I think sometimes we get on both extremes where it's like no medication at all. And I'm like, but that person
Yeah.
might need it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That
also
makes sense.
we need to understand, why people have this, because there is a lot of fear. There is a lot of
Mm,
fear around either extremes. That
yeah,
fear
I can
comes
see that.
from you have heard someone say that, I did this and this is what happened.
Yeah.
I did this and that, and this is what happened. So it's sometimes around fear.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, it's person to person, it keeps changing. So
And
yeah,
you
we
look
have
at
to.
it person to person. You don't mask it all and say, well, it's all the same. You're like, no, I look at person to
No,
person. And
I actually
that's
look
great.
at symptom to symptom.
Symptom to symptom. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
so if I was
yeah,
working with you,
that makes
you
sense.
say I have migraines. If you say I have back pain, there are two different things that we are dealing with here. Now, things that you might be
Oh.
exposed to in terms of chemicals could be the same, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trauma could be different. The priority could be different. In terms of migraines, the priority could be physical. It might be
Yeah.
just as simple as cleaning your environment.
Yeah.
In terms of back pain, the priority could be different: structural, nutritional, non physical, as in trauma. So, yeah, it's like not person to person, symptom to symptom.
Yeah, because that would make sense too when it
Yeah,
comes to because you also said earlier you said sometimes it's about what we tell ourselves,
true.
and sometimes I get really frustrated with that because it's like, well, I have a positive mindset. I'm telling myself I'm good. It's not working, and you're like
Yeah,
because you're looking at just like this has to work versus the symptom that might be connected to another symptom, to
Yeah.
another. So you're like, we have to take it symptom by symptom.
Absolutely.
Because you can't just like, you can't will your way out of it sometimes. Like it
No.
just doesn't work. Some people, it might work for one person's symptom where
Yeah.
maybe they're telling themselves, I'm not safe. And you're like, okay, you have to tell yourself you're safe. We have to deal with that first symptom. Then we can deal with the second one.
True.
But I've tried to do like, mindset, I'm positive. And I'm like, this isn't working. And it's like, again, I'm not dealing with each symptom. I was just dealing with this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what to do sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like that you said that. So symptom by symptom. If someone like how, so you said you do this in person or virtually, like how do you reach clients and be able to do symptom by symptom if they're not physically in front of you?
Yeah. So I work with clients remotely over the phone all over the world. So yeah, if anytime anybody has symptom, they fill out the session request form, then they will be sent a long history form which has got everything about them, what have they tried, the medications that they are taking, the things that that's not working for them, what is it that they would like me to work on. It has got everything in there. It's a session request form, and then I just call them at the time that suits us, and then we just go from there. And then we have a bunch of energetic scans that we run, that we have developed at Best Healing Solutions, which is my company. And we just take it from there. The first thing I want to see is what is the priority of the body, like we were talking about, like right, in terms of migraines or the back pain or the coma. So what is the priority of the body? So that's the first thing. Then we just clear all the frequencies that we have found, which is what I call the physical scan, which we just so we run a physical scan on that person and then find out all the frequencies that is kind of blocking somebody. And the person can hear what we are saying, because I am just testing their symptoms through their field. So, and I'm using myself as a surrogate. And then we also go into the non-physical, and then we find out if the body needs help with clearing any of these frequencies, and then we give that person a healing code at the end of the session, which they read certain times a day, like you would take medication. So it's sometimes like, read this code 3 times in a row, 3 times a day. So it's like they are redoing the treatment. So now the person is healing themselves.
Because it's like, again, you come like even coming down just to the fear of not being safe with that code. I'm putting it here so that my body can start processing what I'm feeling up here. And I don't think a lot of people think how much their emotions and their thought process actually bleeds into their body. And it was interesting. I looked up that our mind processes 60,000 thoughts a day. Wow, and 90% of them are repetitive. Like, so if it is a negative thing where it's like, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, 60,000 times, 90% of that, you're like, wow, that's a lot of times a day. So this thing of me saying, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. Okay. Later today, I am safe, I am safe, I am safe. And like not saying it till you believe it, but saying it until you're from head to toe, your body says, oh, we are safe. And that was something I was kind of sat back and I was like, that's a lot of thoughts, but that's also a lot of repetitive thoughts. Oh my gosh. So that I like that you said, like, sometimes we have to just give you a code to say, or like a phrase for you to say, you know, you can't always willpower yourself out of this, but sometimes you can speak truth back into your body. When you say scans, what are some of the scans? I know someone, I'm thinking of someone who might be listening that goes, oh no, I won't do a scan, like an x-ray so what do you mean by scans?
Yeah, I will get to that one. But before I explain that, I like how you said, like, we cannot kind of talk ourselves out of some sort of a self-talk or something. So if we are constantly telling ourselves that I am safe, going back to the example of that dental chair, that panic attack, right? If I were to tell you at that point that repeat this kind of affirmations that I am safe, the body is not going to believe it. It is good. It is good in terms of the word that you used was masking. It's good in that sense, but it's not going to solve the problem. Now, if somebody says to me that I don't feel safe, You're not going to talk them out of their mindset and tell them, no, it's okay, you are safe. It's about finding out, why do you not feel safe? What is the trauma that keeps calling your name, which is in the past?
Mm,
And once you collapse those fields, as in
yeah.
discover what it is,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, the example of an 8 year, 9 year old, right? What happened then? Why do you not feel safe? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now we need to show the body, okay, this is the trauma. This is the belief that I have
Mm-hmm.
had from that trauma, because remember that we are reacting to the tiger, which is not in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
our bodies
that,
are literally 8 years
oh,
old. The body
those
is,
those questions, sorry, those questions you asked actually made me really emotional. Versus like you're just repeat you're safe, that made me more agitated. But then when you said like, okay, talk to me, that like my body shifted and I was like,
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
cry. And it's because you're inviting me into honesty. And
yeah,
that felt very different than what I
yeah,
was told in the chair of like, you're safe, you're fine. It's like, I don't feel fine. Like I'm
yeah,
not feeling pain. I'm not
yeah,
feeling, nothing's happening up here, but my body's saying something's happening. So then
true,
you took a moment to say, let me invite you into this conversation so we
exactly,
can
yeah,
figure out what's going on. And that, like, that just, my body felt different when you said that versus saying,
yeah,
yeah, you're safe. Like that wouldn't work. So
yeah,
that's
it
a
would just
shift in my
mask,
body that
right,
even
right,
happened. I was like, I
yeah,
wanted for someone to hear that. Like, I
yeah,
felt that shift when just you talking about it. I was like, that would have been different for me.
yeah,
I think I
yeah,
would have calmed down because I'm feeling
yeah,
it in my body right now of like, oh, that's a different invitation.
absolutely, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
continue.
I always give, no, that's fine. It's always good to have this conversation. So I always like to give this example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine you had traveled long distance in your car,
Mm-hmm.
and there might be, yeah, like you must have had dinner or something, and then there is a lot of trash in the car. At some
Mm.
point, it will start stinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I said to you, okay, it's stinking, that's fine. Let's just put this car air freshener in there, and the stinking smell will go away. So, would we just put the car freshener in there, or will we take out the trash?
We'll take out the trash.
That is exactly what we are doing when we are finding the beliefs, we are finding the
Yeah.
emotions. So, you are working on the root cause. Now, this is what we call root cause treatments.
Yeah.
So, forget the migraines, forget the panic attacks. I'm not even interested in that. I'm
Yeah.
interested in what is this trying to communicate to you. Your body is
Mm.
communicating with you. Your body is like a messenger. If you were to text me, we are meeting on such and such date, that is a communication.
Mm-hmm.
If I keep ignoring that, it's not going to help neither you nor me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I have this communication. What is it trying to tell me? What do I
Mm.
need to do? Do I need to go ahead and put it on my calendar along with the links that I need? Yes.
Mm.
What else do I need to do? Put it on my diary too? Okay, got it. Is there anything else I need to do? Yes, I need to get my headphones. So these are the messages. So
Mm.
body is
Yeah.
giving you messages. I was just giving a literal example, but this was in terms of the body. I was just trying to be
It was
metaphorical, but
very good though.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
So
oh, I get it. Like,
yeah,
thank you. That was huge. Like,
yeah,
I'm like sitting back.
yeah.
I'm like, dang, like, did not expect that today.
Oh,
It's good. It's a good thing because I think that these are the conversations that we don't have with people that are experienced with this particular thing. Like, we just assume that like if we just google it and we just try something out, we'll figure it out, and then we get so tired of trying to figure it out that we stop dealing with it. And I
yeah,
love that you said like we just need to take out the trash. Like
yeah,
we have to, because
yeah.
it's only going to keep going. And that I
Exactly.
love that you're like, I don't care, like, not that you don't care about the migraines and the panic attacks, but you're like,
Yeah,
that's not the actual issue. We keep
yeah.
focusing on that, the surface level,
True.
but you're like, digger, deep digger, dig deeper. There we go. My
Yeah,
dyslexia is like,
yeah.
what happened?
That's
Dig deeper,
no, yeah, it's
because
exactly what we are
it's
doing.
fully deeper. And sometimes
True.
I think there's also the opposite,
Yeah.
where I've seen the extreme where someone's like, oh, it has to be deeper. And it's like, no, I literally just got hit in the face. Like, it's not deeper. But that's where you're saying, like, I don't do that. I'm not going to be on both extremes, because
Yeah.
it's not about that sometimes. Sometimes it is that you just literally got hit by
Yeah.
a car.
Yeah.
And then other times it's that's the symptom. And we need to
True.
be, I think personally, be more honest about what is a symptom and what is
Mm-hmm.
deeper. And I think that's harder to
True.
dig into alone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're like, you can't dig into it alone, because you're,
Yeah.
you're just telling yourself, and that's still
Yeah.
keeping it inside versus
Yeah.
taking the trash out. I love
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else
Exactly.
you'd like to add?
Yeah, this is about like, okay, we are going to take the trash out, but then it's also about finding what is it that I first need to pick up.
Ooh.
Okay, we are dealing with panic attacks. Okay, fine. I know I need to dig deeper, but I don't just start digging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would
Mm-hmm.
muscle test, where do I need to dig deeper? I would muscle
Yeah.
test, like, what's my priority? Do I need to go to
Mm-hmm.
the trauma first? Do I need to go to the chemical sensitivity that that person might be having, which is kind of hidden. We don't always know that. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah, and then that would help. So it's all
Right.
about muscle testing. So this is what muscle testing can do. Okay, we are dealing with panic attacks. Okay, we got it. Next, what's my priority? That's the first thing
Mm.
that we would do. That's the first thing that we would do on our sessions. So that's how I would start a session.
Yeah. And
Yeah. So
that,
it's about,
that's
yeah.
so crazy. That's wild, because a lot of people do stop at the trauma and they stop right here. And like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like therapy, sometimes in
Yeah.
therapy, we'll stop. We're like, here's what's happening. And then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we'll pick it up next week. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
okay, but by next week, I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And you're
Might be.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Because
that
that's
it's
healed.
scary.
That's
It's
healed.
scary. But
It
it
is scary.
is,
Yeah.
I think that that is like, I love that you said, like, okay, that's not where we are going to stop. We're like, it's
No,
not that you're
never.
saying, give me your details. It's literally like, okay, that's what you felt at 8. Okay, now let's see what we need to pick up and put,
True.
what do we need to put down? And then what
Yeah.
do we have to pick up? And that, I don't think, not a lot of people would know to do that. Like, I wouldn't have known to do that if it was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm putting down, it's not, I'm putting down panic attack. I'm putting down the false
Mm-hmm.
belief that I'm not safe,
True.
and I'm going to pick up what in return.
Yeah.
So what would that look like? I guess it would be case by case then, because it would be
Well,
different.
if it's a
Yeah.
belief, first of all, I would want the healing intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
I am not necessarily telling you, okay, Danisha, now you are safe. Okay, I am talking to you, but I'm also talking more to your the subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
now I am testing that, okay, we know that we are not safe. This is what we are feeling in this moment, because this
Mm-hmm.
is reminding me of what happened when I was 8 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we first need to kind of break that belief.
Mm.
And then we need to show ourselves that, okay, today is 24th of January 2025
Mm-hmm.
and not 90s something. I
Mm.
am this much old, like this is my age right now. This is what
Mm.
it looks outside. This is where I am today. Probably when you were 8, you were not in this place, city, country, town, whatever. You
Right.
were maybe in a different. So you are showing yourself like, oh, I also have a credit card. When I was 8 years old, I probably didn't have a
Yeah.
credit card. So I am showing myself the proof of who I am today,
Yeah.
right?
That's deeper, because something, it was very sweet, because the medical, or not medical assistant, dental assistant was there, and she's like, look at five things that you can name, but I had stuff in my mouth, so I was like, I can't talk. Like, I can't do this
True,
practice
true.
right now. But mentally, if I'm in this, I can say, okay, when I was 8, I didn't have a phone. When I was 8, I didn't have these shoes. When I was 8,
True.
I didn't have a car.
No.
I live in this city. I have this now. And you just thinking that, like, that, as you started to say that, I was like, oh, I do. Like,
Yeah.
I can see the difference of where I was to where I
True.
am. And it actually, like, my
Absolutely.
brain, like, as you were talking, my brain is like, see, and my body, like, I was feeling tension here, because the
Yeah.
anxiety has still lasted, even though the panics have stopped. But
Yeah.
it, like, started to calm me down. Like, you didn't
Yeah.
have this house, you didn't have
No.
this car, you didn't have your
Yeah.
husband and your daughter, you didn't. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I didn't have a credit card when I was 8. I
Yeah.
got a credit card now. Oh,
Yeah.
but I'm not there. It's not the same situation.
True.
And
True.
that's what you're trying to help my brain register, is like,
Yeah.
you're not 8-year-old Denisha.
Yeah.
You're 35-year-old Denisha, and
Yeah.
we're not close. Like, my brain looks at the panic as we're right there. So
Sure.
I have to help my brain go, oh, hey, we're all the way over here on this other side of things.
Yeah.
And that, like, my body was calming down. And I'm like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we're not even doing a session. And I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
helping you so much.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
y'all,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
different than what
Yeah.
I've ever experienced before with talking to
Definitely.
people with energy. Like, I'm not trying to say this to like make fun of anybody, but it's like I've had people say like, oh, your energy is off. Here's a rock. Like, breathe into the rock. And I'm like, I don't believe in that. They're like, that's not my religion or my faith based or my belief. Like, I don't believe the rock has what I need. So for me,
Yeah.
it's not like I need to get over that. It's like, hey, that's not what I need as like just as me as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes what
yeah.
happens is when somebody uses that,
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel that it's okay if you want to use it. I wouldn't tell you to use it.
Yeah.
But what I would suggest is let's muscle test. If you have a bunch of different rocks, if you have a bunch of different stuff that you want to try,
Let's
once we are
try
done
it.
with the session, you are going to do the codes. But if you think that this thing is going to help me believe better, let's go for it. If this is
Mm.
going to help you believe, then there is no harm. But we need to muscle test, like
Yeah.
whether this is in my best and highest good for me to do this, right? So the body knows whether it likes it or no. So it's not
Yeah.
about what I like, it's about what my body needs.
Yeah. So everybody's body is going to be different. And that's what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing from what you're saying is like, hey, like what's working for you right now is just reminding yourself that you're
Yeah. Yeah.
35 and you're not in that physical location anymore.
True.
But for others it might be something like a breathing technique. And like I
Yeah.
actually, like, at first I couldn't even get a deep breath in.
Hmm.
Again, there's stuff in my mouth and I'm like, if I breathe in, I'm choking this down.
Yeah.
So it is like, okay, but let's think of something that doesn't make you panic more, because you can't
True.
breathe deeply. Okay,
Hmm.
you can't drink water. Like, I always use water as a way to calm
Yeah.
myself down, to feel like, okay, here, I feel it here. I
Hmm.
couldn't grab my like, I have like this little balm thing of like cream and oil that I would
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
on and it would help me calm down. I'm like, I couldn't grab that. But what you showed me is like, okay, but now there's something mentally you can do when you can't physically grab that thing that you are not attached
True.
to but use for your
Yeah.
soothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I have another tool to say, how can I calm the body when I can't reach my tool?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
very powerful, because I don't think that that's what we're really taught a lot of when it comes
Hmm.
to energy medicine. We're
Yeah.
usually taught how the person teaching us is what worked for
Yeah.
them, or
Yeah.
maybe if more of a friend.
Yeah.
They're like, here's what's worked for me. It's like, that's perfect. I did that. And that's
Yeah.
where I was getting more frustrated.
Hmm.
Um, talking to people about, because I shared with a few people about it, and I'm like, I'm not mad at you, I'm just frustrated because it's like I did do those
Yeah.
things and they didn't work and I don't know why. And what
True.
I needed was more of a technique of like, okay,
Yeah.
what do you have that's like, how do you know today is different than when the first time
Hmm.
you felt this? And that,
True.
I'm really hoping that someone listening is hearing like, hey, this might be a better technique for you versus
Yeah.
grabbing water when you literally get into a moment that you don't have water,
Yeah.
or to grab, your spouse's hand, or to hug your
Hmm.
child. Like, those might not be readily available in the moment, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
other thing might be, and it's case by
Yeah.
case. I really
Exactly.
thank you for sharing all of that. That's huge.
Yeah.
Is there anything else
Yeah.
you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think, the bunch of things that you just mentioned, like the balm, the water, I think we could always test what is
Yeah.
kind of helping you the most. So then you can have a priority list of everything
Right.
that you are
Yeah.
using. This is not what I'm suggesting. This is something you're already using. So, okay,
Mm.
priority one, this is helping you 80%. Priority two, this is next best. Priority three,
Mm-hmm.
four, five. So you kind of always have it with you. And if there is nothing, we just give you a like the healing code, right? I
Yeah.
will I will just share with you the trauma code that I use often.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
This is the
Okay.
trauma code.
Okay.
So EBIFLFSHEBEMFSHIFOEAC.
Mm.
This is the key that's underneath, which just tells you what EB is, which is eyebrow.
Mm.
IF is index finger. So basically, these are all the acupuncture points. But
Mm.
this is the trauma code. So anytime somebody wants to kind of relieve instantly, self-help themselves, they would just
Mm.
run their hand on this trauma code. Simply just run their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a gift. We can just drop this code under the description or
Yeah.
something. I would be glad to. I
And
can
then
share
we
that
can
with you.
write it down. Like, if you want, you can write it
Yeah,
down and just
yeah,
like look at it, and we even just like people, you can pause it at the part of
Yeah.
the video too to just
Yeah.
look at it and then
Yeah.
just like, okay, what does this mean?
Yeah.
So you guys can literally at this time pause, read the description code, and each of them is just like, okay, these are some things to consider.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain so that we know how to use this code? Because you were saying like run your fingers over it. Are we to touch that part of our body when it's happening? Like, can you explain how would you tell me to use this?
I would just first time when I am reading this code,
Mm-hmm. So
I
just
would
say it out
just
loud.
yeah, I would just
Mm-hmm.
read the key which is given below, like what each point stands for.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it, but if you want to do it that way, then you can just do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, you simply run your hand on that trauma code.
Mm.
You simply run the hand over. So even when you were talking, I'm just running my hand on the trauma code.
Mm.
Like
Okay.
right now, when you're telling me about the panic attacks, you can just, even
Mm.
if you're talking to your friend, you can just do that.
Yeah.
If
So
that makes
and
sense.
that's so cool that it's a card, because if
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I do have panic attacks in situations I don't feel control in, I could just have the card and just keep pushing my hand on it. And like
Mm-hmm.
my instant panic is just to be like, ah, like really fast. And it's like, slow down. And
Yeah.
that's what you're doing, is you're helping your brain slow
Yeah.
down for a minute and
Yeah.
be like, okay. And then,
Yeah.
okay, now I can look at it and be like, okay, EB is
Absolutely.
eyebrow. IF is this. Okay, now we
Yeah.
keep going. You might need 15 times, and that's okay.
Just
But
keep
it's
doing it
just to
until you feel
help.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to
Yeah.
help slow you down. And I think that's where breathing techniques can be good, but
Yeah.
like the one that's harder just because it triggers me a little bit physically, because that's where I feel a lot of it. I'll feel it in my face and my neck because I tense up, is the tapping is really not good for
Yeah.
me. Like, it makes me more annoyed. And so if
Yeah.
I had my finger on something, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why like blankets can be really comforting,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
just something I can hold
Yeah.
and slow my brain down,
Exactly.
versus it being like, okay, now I have to think about where I have to touch now. And like, you might
No,
feel
no.
weird. And I know someone where tapping has been phenomenal for them. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, like, my skin just feels
Too
like I get more
much. Yeah.
sensitive and it's too much
Yeah.
for my body.
Yeah.
And so that was like hard for me, because I was like, man, this isn't working. And I was like trying it, and I'm
Wow.
like, okay,
Yeah.
this is just irritating me more.
Yeah.
So someone was like, okay, do you have like a breathing technique you can do if you have this or this or that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really just slowing down. And I like the card because it's like I can just feel the letters
Yeah.
on the card, and that's doing something in
Absolutely.
my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is exactly where, muscle testing comes into place. So you
Mm-hmm.
could test what is best because, like you said, not everybody wants to tap on their face or any other part
Oh
of their body.
yeah.
Maybe there is something else that works better for them. So
Mm-hmm.
we always have to find the way that works for them. And that's the reason why we
Yeah.
always say this. We find the solutions that are best for you. That's
Yeah.
what the company means, like best
I
healing
love that.
solutions. So yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
that, I think, like, if you're listening, understand that it's okay to be frustrated when you haven't found what works for
absolutely.
you,
Absolutely.
because it
Yeah.
can be it's a process. And I think that can
Yeah.
be really hard
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say, this is how my body can slow down. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you would like to add before we end?
I think you asked about the energetic scans. I would
Yeah,
like to answer that. So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, we have different scans. So, we start from the physical scan, what we call the physical and the reconnection scan. We make sure that whatever the symptoms are, we reconnect the person to the healing intelligence.
Yeah.
Then we run the physical scans, and that involves testing for their toxins, the pathogens.
Mm,
We then go into the deeper scans, like find out, okay, if there are panic attacks, then what other organs, what systems are involved in this? Find out
mm,
everything that is contributing to the panic attack. Find out everything that's
mm-hmm.
contributing to migraines or back pains, right? Or any other disease. Like, we deal with a lot of like the autoimmune diseases. My favorite
Oh
subject
yeah.
is autoimmune and the neurodegenerative diseases. So Parkinson's, dementia, autism. Yeah. So
Mm,
find out everything that is contributing to that.
yeah.
So these are the energetic scans that we use. So yeah, there is something called miasm scan,
Yeah.
which we use on issues which are running in the family.
Mm.
So if somebody is having diabetes, then sometimes you might find that the whole family has had the history of diabetes
Yeah.
or blood pressure
Yeah.
or relationship issues or financial issues. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
It's so interesting to see how so much plays into how we feel. And I
yeah,
think that's when we don't know, especially like if we're just like, oh, it was just a bad day. It was I didn't eat enough. But it's like, okay, maybe it is that you're not eating enough. Maybe you're
yeah,
not getting enough water. I know for a really long time
yeah.
my migraines was water induced. I wasn't drinking enough water at all. I would drink like 8
Oh,
ounces a day.
yeah,
That's not enough.
yeah.
So, but the other issue was in my city, we didn't have like tap water was not good to drink, and I was drinking it from the fridge. So when I switched my filter out, it was cleaning the water better. And I'm like, oh, that explains a lot too.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it is those things of like that. I love that you said like it's not just about the symptom, it's really digging into all parts of like what was generational, if you know what is physically happening internally that you can't see,
true.
what
Yeah,
organ is hitting the next organ. And I don't think that because I've never thought about it that way. I always was just kind of like, oh, you just have a pain, you take a medication. Oh, you're having emotionally a hard day, you just wish it to be better. And it's just
yeah,
like, this isn't working. I don't know what's happening. And it's hard. It's very hard when you're sitting in that to be like, well, what
yeah,
do I do? And then you
yeah,
can't find what works for you.
yeah.
Yours is a different approach because it's like, what is happening internally, externally?
Exactly.
Where are you at? Where have you been? And it's holistic, like real holistically looking at each person, each symptom, because you're not just automatically connecting a migraine to low back pain. You're just like, maybe these are two different, maybe they're connected, maybe
Yeah,
they're not. And I
yeah,
think that when you think of it that way, you're like, your eyes are kind of open to like, oh, maybe, okay, maybe I'm not just dying because of
yeah,
Google. Like Google
yeah,
will tell you that.
yeah.
But I love that. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go?
Um, I just wanted to add the thing that you said about the chiropractor,
Yeah.
so when you did the adjustments and stuff, you felt
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is good. But sometimes what people say is sometimes that it comes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the chiropractor adjustments, perfect, right?
Yep.
But also, what I do is a lot of work in collaboration with chiropractors and other practitioners. So
Mm-hmm.
this goes in like conjunction with what everything the
Yes.
person is doing. So
Yeah.
it's like we are the team for that person, like
Yes.
myself, the doctor, the chiropractor, and everybody is doing their best. But
Yes.
it's about finding out, okay, how many chiropractic treatments do you need?
Right.
Somebody might be doing just one a month.
And
It
they need
actually tests
more.
as two or three in a month.
Yeah.
And all the adjustments that they have done, or there is another example that I give, but all the adjustments that they have done, like what did they kind of adjust? Was it cervical? Was it thoracic? Was it lumbar?
Right.
Are there any other emotions that we need to find from the adjustments? So
Mm-hmm.
he has done the adjustments, but we also need to clear the field from the non-physical, the
Yes.
frequencies that
Yes.
we are finding, the physical, the chemicals, the heavy metals.
Mm-hmm. And
And
I,
same with the
yeah,
doctor,
go ahead.
same with the doctor. So when the doctor
Yes.
gives you the pain meds, like the person with coma, they
Mm,
given the anesthesia, the pain meds, and lots of other stuff, which has been really helpful. The why the person is alive today is because of
right.
that. So it did the good until you kind of came back to your normal.
Mm-hmm.
But now we also need to clear those frequencies. That's
Yes.
what I wanted to bring. So it's
I love
okay to
that.
get that, but then we need to clear. We need to show the body, okay, where all did that frequency land on my organs,
Yes.
glands, tissues, and then we need to clear. Now this is where somebody might not feel sicker and sicker. Sometimes they say after I had surgery, I never really felt myself.
Mm-hmm.
After I have
Mm-hmm.
had this incident, I never really went back to the normal health. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
goal here is to make you feel better,
Mm.
even better than how you felt before. That's the
Yeah,
goal.
yeah. And that's something that I noticed when I started the last year. I've been going to like intensive therapy and chiropractics, and then I went to the eye doctor because I have
Yeah.
astigmatism in my eye. And so all putting all three of those together, I actually started to feel a lot better. And then there was, and then when I had the dental thing, I was like, why am I panicking? And but she had already taught me some things to like, okay, is this deeper?
Yeah.
Was it just this one situation?
Yeah.
Was it more than that? So when I was able to get to her for my appointment on Wednesday, I was like, I was thinking through this. and I still need to work through this, but my body is still up here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where she was like, okay, try to do some things, try to sleep. Are you getting 8 hours of sleep? That was a big one for me. I was not sleeping normally. And I was like, I need to get 8 hours of sleep, because this at night, like I shouldn't do 4 hours here and then 10 hours here. Like I need to get a consistent sleep schedule, because my body it's impacting my body even more.
True.
So that's where it's like, oh, there's more to a holistic. It's not just like, okay, go get an adjustment. Because like you said, like, what are they adjusting? You know, is it the right person that you're getting adjusted by? Because sometimes it's about finding the right chiropractor or even the right therapist. It's about digging into the right things. And I think that's what I've really learned today is like, I need to dig into the right things versus just everything. Like that's where it could be a little dangerous. And I like that when you started, you said, I'm not going to ask you details. But I would like you to tell me like these are some questions that I would ask. And it's like, oh, you're not digging into the wrong things. You're digging into the right things to get the right solution for my body and what I'm feeling.
Yeah,
and that it's work, but it's the right work versus just kind of after 10 weeks, you're like, so I just told you my whole life story. And I'm not getting any better.
Got nowhere.
and I'm feeling worse. And I think that's the biggest hardship about trauma is that sometimes we are digging into the wrong things. And it's re-traumatizing our mind, body, and our spirit. And then we go, well, that didn't work. And that's where, Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it really.
This was so helpful. Like this was really like, I'm like leaving and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, because this is something that I've never heard of before. That wasn't, it's just,
I'm so glad.
This was really helpful. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. If you have questions, all her contact information will be at the bottom. The card information will be at the bottom as well. The code information will be at the bottom as well.
Yeah.
And you can reach out.
I also offer a free 15-minute like a strategy session if somebody has a burning question, and if they want to find out like if they should kind of go ahead with something or not, and whether this kind of work is right for them. So
I love that. Make sure you guys reach out, like, subscribe, reach out. Like she said, 15-minute free consultation. I think it's worth it. It's worth figuring out, because you do deserve to feel good and to not feel. Because I'm telling you, being in a whole week of panic attacks, like I'm so glad that I'm feeling the way I am today. But it's like I never want to go back there, and that is a fear sometimes. Is I'll revert back, and it's my body is saying something's wrong, and if I can meet the need of what my body really needs, I will get to enjoy life and experience life. And that's I'm so glad you were here with me today. This just it's so glad, beautiful what you do. Thank you so much for serving in this way and using your gifts and talents for that. I know someone is going to be very, very lucky. After I was lucky, I hope whoever hears this hears that there is, we got to stop just feeding a symptom and start looking at actually what's happening internally and externally sometimes too. Thank you so much for joining us.
So glad to
guys
be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.